Richard, aka MetalFan230 here, back with a new video, and I'm going to do a brand new discography. And this discography we're going to be doing is looking into one of the classic death metal bands in history, Cannibal Corpse. And what better way to start it off with the very beginning with their debut album called Eaten Back to Life. Now let's talk about the band name, Cannibal Corpse. Wow, it seems like a very brilliant band name. It seems very original. Like, it's like once you hear that name, it just sticks with you. Now let's talk about this band. Of course, now this band formed in, I believe, 1988 in Buffalo, New York. I've heard, but there are also sources that they're from Tampa. I think they're from Buffalo. That's what I'm hearing. Now their debut album came out in 1990. Of course, this produced by Scott Burns, I believe, who's a great producer, one of the best death metal album producers in history, I believe, in my opinion. Now, when you first hear this album, like musically, it sounds very thrashy. Like a lot of the early death metal albums, like especially their first album, sounds more thrash metal, because I could tell that death metal was sort of influenced by thrash metal, which I think it sort of evolved from death metal evolved from thrash metal. It sort of sounds thrashy but with different vocals, more growly type vocals. Now the vocals from Chris Barnes, who is one of the best death metal vocalists. Like, they weren't low, which would later become on the next album or two. But yeah. Now, production-wise, this album sounds very raw. It's good, and it just sounds very raw, which is pretty good, pretty much how all death metal albums, especially early albums like their first album, sound. But enough talk. Let's talk about this album, of course. Now, the album opens up with the song called Shredded Humans. Ooh. Which is one of the longer songs on the album. It's like 5 minutes. It starts off very weird for like the first 20-something seconds or so, but then it sort of picks up from there, and it's a pretty good opener, I have to say. Next song is called Edible Autopsy. See, it's a faster type song. It's very short. It's a shorter song, I have to say. It's about 1 minute 50 seconds. It's a pretty good song, I have to say. Hey. Next song is called Put Them to Death. Death, which is another one of the shorter songs. It's very impressive. It's just fast, just all over. It's just, wow. Yeah. Next song is called Mangled. It's just, the guitars on that song sound freaking heavy. Heavy, and the drumming just, wow, it's just, it's just like that. And then we get to the next song called Scattered Remains, Splattered Brains. Wow. All these song titles sound fucking awesome for death metal. It has, this song, Scattered Remains, Splattered Brains, it's like a tongue twister. It starts off with a very slower intro, which is a bit unexpected, but then from there it sort of picks up, and it's a pretty good song. Next song is called Born in a Casket, which has the guitars on that song sound pretty good, and there's a good catchy lead part in that song. Next song is called Rotting Head, which is another good song. Sheesh. All of these songs sound pretty catchy in my opinion. Next song is called The Undead Will Feast. Now that's a song that sort of gets right into it, just gets right in the point. Next song is called Bloody Chunks, which is one of the third shorter song on the album, and it just goes by quick. It just goes boop. It's like only 1 minute and 53 seconds, but it just goes by that fast. Next song is called A Skull Full of Maggots. Wow. It's another catchy song. It's just has good guitar parts. The last song on the album is called Buried in the Backyard, which is the second longest song on the album, which is 5 minutes, like the first song. It's just, wow. And the vocals sound heavy. Like, the guitars sound heavy. Like, I think it's the heavier song on this album. Now, personally, overall, this album is a good debut album. I consider it a good debut album from this band. Like, they would get even more better on throughout their albums. Now, the score I would give this album. I would give Eaten Back to Life by Cannibal Corpse an 8 out of 10. It's a good debut album, good way for them to start out. So yeah, see you guys and keep it metal.